I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, January the 5th, brought to you by National Beef Wire, your newest and best source and for the most up-to-date data and relevant cattle information, including real-time feeder cattle market quotes. We've got an electronic newsletter that will be sent to you in your email inbox every day. It includes this report. It includes all kinds of up-to-date, I mean as fast as you can get them, real-time feeder cattle quotes, and a jillion channels in there with just about anything you'd be interested in the cattle. Go to nationalbeefwire.com. The board spoiled the opening day of 2021. I know I told you guys that we were looking for a big push here to start out the new year, and we saw that during the week of New Year's, and we had a few sales that were in there and were really good. Everybody had a positive outlook, and it looked like we were really going to start off the year good. And I tell you what, the Monday of opening day, just immediately our stock market was down hard, and it took the cattle market with it. A lot of your publicly traded markets were down really hard, and it was mostly all just due to uncertainty. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's a big election taking place in Georgia here on Tuesday, and I tell you what, if the incumbents don't win, if your Republican senators don't win, we will probably never have any kind of conservative leadership for the foreseeable future. The kind of changes that they want to make, and your Democrats will have complete control in Washington, D.C. And I tell you what, most all of us cattle people for sure, but agriculture people, particularly production agriculture, are conservative in their values. And if we don't get the incumbents in, your Republican senators in Georgia, they're going to overtake the Senate. They've already got the House. They somehow got the presidency, and I tell you what, it's really going to throw this whole country for a loop here. So we've got Georgia on our mind here on Tuesday. Some of the other uncertainty that come around is finally some of your mainstream media is having to report on some of the things that President Trump has been screaming about, and his supporters have been screaming about the unfairness of the election, and it looks as though they're going to be calling for an election audit. They've got several senators out there that are not going to accept the results of the election. It appears a lot of other ones that kind of rode on Trump's coattails have left him and are kind of jockeying for position with the new administration. But I tell you what, it's causing a lot of uncertainty in our markets. And I know some of you guys don't like to hear any politics in our cattle markets. The politics control everything, guys, everything. And if you don't think so, that is the reason that your stock market was down hard opening. It was down as much as 700 points or more at one time. It came back a little bit on the close, but ended up down 382, which is a pretty tough day. Like I said earlier, your cattle markets were down hard. We'll talk about that in a minute. Your grains were wild. Grains were from, just yo-yoed from one end, up big, down big, all in between. They closed near steady there. But I tell you what, we're in a time now that politics have a lot to do with everything. And so, yes, that's going to be part of your cattle market report. If we're reporting on the things that affect the market, and that's what we're doing here. It can't all be a bed of roses, guys, and we have to, if you're listening to this, you're going to get the things that affect the markets, and politics definitely affect it and affects our everyday lives. But let's talk about your board for Monday to open the first full trading week of the new year. February live cattle futures down 272 at 112.30. And now you see that some of the guys that are trading at the 112 market, that's about par now, and that's for a February contract. So if we gain a buck or two like we should this week, then finally your hedged feeders will be able to work with a little bit of a basis there to help along too, but likely they'll try to kill your fat cattle cash market this week after we gain $4 to $5 during your 2 weeks of holidays there, live basis, and $8 to $9 on a dress basis, which were huge gains, and there's no reason to think we shouldn't continue to gain on that. But like I say, the board seems to control everything these days. Your April live cattle contract was down $3 even. These are not limit moves. I might say that, and on your feeder cattle too, it's not limit moves, but April live cattle down $3 at 116 and a quarter. You go on out from there, we're down 85 cents to down 307. Your feeder cattle contracts, January feeder cattle down $4 even. That's not the limit, but down a square $4 at 134.95. That's a little bit closer to what cattle have been bringing cash basis because your futures have been running at a big premium to what your cash cattle are bringing and what your index levels are. But now they've fallen back with a $4 move. That's huge. To fall back under what your index levels are, even though your index levels were down hard on Monday. Your real-time index was down $2.15, but you know, it's a lot easier to take those publicly traded markets down more than that, and they were down $4 pretty easy. March feeder cattle down $4.20, but still at a higher quote there at 136.02. You look out from there, and they were down $1.15 to down 372. Let's talk about the weighted average, the results of last week's, your New Year's holiday week negotiated fat cattle trade in your 5-area feeding region. 72,400 head, pretty darn good movement for a holiday week compared to your previous week, which was Christmas week, and that was pretty darn good movement of 71,600 head. Same week a year ago had 71,000 even, but that 72,400 we had last week and the 71,600 we had Christmas week were larger than your 2 previous weeks leading up to the holidays of normal weeks without a holiday, and we need a strong cash market. But you see how we had a bigger movement during your holiday weeks, and we had sharply higher prices there. But last week during New Year's week, your live steers and heifers traded from 108 to 112. That was about $2 higher. You add that to the $2 to $3 higher, and that pretty good gains there during your holiday week. Talked to you guys on our last visit about the 111, which was a significant number of sales. Was on some guys in the northern plains that didn't have quite the leverage or the contacts, and then on some junk cattle or some lower grading, lower quality, uneven type of hodgepodge cattle there in the southern plains at 111 on Wednesday. But by 112 it was all, or by Thursday, which was New Year's Eve, it was all 112, both northern plains and southern plains. But your weighted average on live steers ended up being 111.51. That was up 232. So $2 higher on your square market, but up 232 on your weighted average. Pretty good gains there. Dressed even more. Dress sales steers and heifers last week from 174 to 177, but it was largely 176 in your main areas, eastern Nebraska, and places that trade a lot of dress sales there. And your weighted average price on dress steers was 175.67. That was up $3.87 compared to the previous week. So good gains on your fat cattle market. And just because your board was down the first day, full week of your publicly traded markets to start the new year, you know, that doesn't mean that we can't continue to gain ground here on the cash market. Your complexion and your leverage hasn't changed, so guys, continue to dig in there. Nationwide negotiated sales, 81,500 head. Not as many sales last week in your outside areas in your Pacific Northwest and you know, out in Pennsylvania and Ohio and places like that, but still 81,500 is pretty good movement. That's negotiated sales nationwide. Formula sales, 181,900 head, and you think, oh my gosh, all those formula sales. this is another big week of negotiated sales making up a large percentage of what your formula sales were. So if we could have that kind of trade every week, if we could have that many negotiated sales compared to your formula sales, we'd be in a lot better position. And that's why I continue to say that we need mandated minimum negotiated cash trade in your main areas, in your main regions there, guys. But of that 81,500 head, we had about 22,800 that were for the 2 to 4 week delivery. That's about 28%, and that's near normal. Box beef cutout values kind of holding their own there, just a little bit uneven to start the first full week of the new year. So we've got excellent beef demand, and both domestic and for export there. But if we could just get some more of this food service going here, if we could open things up, just imagine what we would have then. Your slaughter for last week, we finally got the results of that. 515,000 for New Year's holiday week. That's pretty good. That was up 96,000 compared to the Christmas week, down 35,000 from the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on here in Missouri. Reporting to you here from the Tracy Taylor building in beautiful downtown Maysville, Missouri. I tell you what, I'm proud to be from New Mexico. I'm proud to be a Texan, but I'm also proud that the bulk of my professional life was spent here in Missouri. And this is cattle country, guys. If you guys don't know it, there's more cattle here than just about anywhere if you figure the land mass and the number of people. And a lot of trading going on, a lot of sale barn receipts around. There's good sale barns on about the corner of every street, and we collect information on a lot of them. But I was happy on Monday to be able to attend the sale at Callaway Livestock Center, Kingdom City, Missouri there. Really good to go there and see some of my dear friends there. John Payne and Jack Harrison to own that market there and doing a whale of a job. I tell you what, really about got everybody knocked in the head in central Missouri. I tell you what, they're just doing such a good job marketing those cattle to get excellent quality cattle in there, both yearlings, and then they also get a really nice set of calves in there, and a lot of those calves that end up being turned out in your big grazing regions, or your Flint Hills, your Osage, places like that, come from central Missouri because the quality's there, guys, and they're starting to dig in on those. Of course, the board and everything was down pretty hard. They had about 1,900 head there on offer on Monday. They'd had a whole lot more than that, but tell you what, the kind of icy fog and rough back road conditions made it hard for people to get cattle in there, but still a pretty decent run. I got to visit with a lot of my good friends, Dave Bryan, I tell you what, an old Iowa cowboy there that order buys in central and west central Missouri. Really good guy there. Roger Parker, he worked with me, a co-worker for many years with the Missouri Department of Agriculture. He was a meat grader, one of the best livestock graders that I've ever been around in my life. He's retired from that, and now he's marketing cattle for Producers of Omaha now. And if you guys are in Missouri, southern Iowa, places like that, you're having trouble getting full market value for your fat cattle, get a hold of Roger Parker with Producers of Omaha, and he can help you market those cattle towards the top of the range there, and he does a really good job of that. Tell you what, Jimmy Long, I tell you what, order buyer there in west central Missouri, does a good job. I've known him for many years. He does a good job. My old buddy Greg Harrison that I used to work with in St. Joe reports markets there, and in eastern Missouri there, runs cattle of his own. Greg Harrison, really good guy, but maybe my favorite to visit with all day long. Of course, Greg Hess was there too. He's a good buyer in that part of the country. Got to see him there. But Jimmy Craig, I tell you what, the legendary cattle buyer there. And you guys have heard me talk about him. I've spent time with him in the Flint Hills. I've admired him for many years, and those of you that follow him on social media, I tell you what, he does a great job with that, and has a little quote or a message every morning there that I know a lot of you love to listen to. And Jimmy Craig does a great job there, and just got so many stories and just a wealth of knowledge about the cattle business. Started out in the Kansas City stockyards and has been a big time buyer all across the Midwest, for for probably the better part of 50 years there. But really good to see Jimmy Craig there. But they had a good sale at Callaway due to the board being down and everything. Of course, your bigger feeding cattle were down some $3 to $4 lower, but in your feeding type calves, your bigger calves, they took the brunt of the losses, maybe 6 or 7 lower in spots there, but they had a really, really good sale. They probably had the top sale at Callaway Livestock Center during the holidays. They had a sale there right after Christmas there a week ago on Monday, one of the few sales that had a big high volume sale in there, and it was a whale of a sale. Had a lot of big strings of yearlings in there, and it was compared to that. So 3 to 4 lower on those, and 6 to 7 maybe on your bigger feeding calves. But your stocker type calves, I tell you what, they were higher, and I was really impressed with the price they had on your light 4 and 5 weight kind of calves there, and really had the good quality in there. But enjoyed being there. Let's talk about your feeder market. Your real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Monday, sitting at 136.46, down $2.15 from the end of last year, and it was all due to the board and the uncertainty, the stock market, and everything that we've already talked about. But it was sure lower. I want to mention now, as I get ready to talk about your feeder markets, you know, we've been doing the last 6-8 months here or more, we've been doing a market of the month, and I love to be able to feature auction sales. I tell you what, I'm a big proponent of selling cattle at auction. We got to continue to do that, guys. You know, cattle are one of the most liquid assets that you can own. You can turn them into cash about 6 days a week in most parts of the country, and competitive bidding is the way you do it. You run the cattle in front of them, you let the buyers go at it, let the auctioneer sort it out. You know, it's just speed, excitement, and a touch of confusion there, and you can't beat that. That's the best way to sell cattle, guys. But I'm going to give you your Zactran Market of the Month for January, and it's going to be the biggest, the world's largest, Oklahoma National Stockyards, Oklahoma City. I tell you what, they have had a resurgence lately, and most all of it's due to their new president here the last couple of years, is Kelly Payne. And I tell you what, she has done such a good job of coming in there and giving those 9 commission firms new life. She's aggressive. She's got a passion for those stockyards, and she's out there working along with those firms and with the people in the yards and promoting the stockyards. You know, the stockyards is far from dead. If you thought that they were on the downhill slide, you're absolutely wrong. They're increasing. They're getting bigger. They're the biggest in the country again. This past year, 436,500 head at the Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City. That's fantastic. That's an increase of over 21,000 from last week. You know, a lot of sales would love to have 21,000. They increased their receipts by 21,000, and I'm just tickled to death. It's your nation's feeder cattle market, and it has been for, you know, for 100 years or more. And I'm just glad to see that it's not going downhill. What could be more fun than going to Oklahoma National Stockyards, going to the Cattleman's Cafe, and having the best ribeye that you can get anywhere? Do some shopping there at Langston's. Go into the Exchange Building where all your commission firms are office there. It's kind of like the old days, guys, but it's new, and they're staying with it. And I tell you what, Kelly Payne has done such a good job. She's doing some special sales there, featuring different cattle from the Oklahoma Beef Network. You know, they had an Angus source kind of a feature there last month, and just really doing a good job. You know, she grew up in that stockyards. Her dad's owned a commission firm there for many, many years, and she's just worked around there. And I tell you, you'll never find anybody more passionate about the Oklahoma National Stockyards than Kelly Payne, and I'm tickled to death that she was able to get in the position she is and bring some new fire into the belly of that stockyards. And I'm just tickled to death that they're doing as well as they are and continuing to pick up. They've got 9 different firms there that you can market your cattle through. Gives you a personal touch within a big market like that. But you know, they got Bailey Blue there, world champion livestock auctioneer, promoting that sale barn on social media all the time. If you're not following him, you need to. He usually does several Facebook Lives there and kind of tells you what's going on there, and then does a wrap up with the markets on there. But he does an excellent job, and they are really doing a good job. Sell a lot of North Texas cattle in Oklahoma City there, not the Texas Panhandle, but North Texas there. You know, Denton, North Fort Worth, and up through there. A lot of cattle come across the Red River and come up there and market at Oklahoma National Stockyards, and you can get fair market value. They've got the regular buyers in there every week, and you know, you can't get too many cattle for the buyers that they get at Oklahoma National Stockyards. But Zach Tran Market of the Month, Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City. Talking about Oklahoma City and Oklahoma National Stockyards, their Monday sale, 12,000 head for the first sale of 2021 compared to 2 weeks ago. They're not immune to seeing the losses. You know, they follow the board probably as much as any market there is. Feeder steers $1 to $4 lower. Feeder heifers steady to $3 lower. Calves were kind of mixed. I tell you what, it's muddy around there. Had quite a bit of moisture there. The wheat pastures, they said, were muddy. That can't be better than that. When the sun comes back out, that wheat will pop because those temperatures are going to bounce back, and then they'll have even more grazing. And in recent weeks, they've gotten some pretty good grazing there in Oklahoma. A lot of guys maybe didn't get to turn out as quick as they would, but got some pretty good grazing there in central Oklahoma and western Oklahoma now. But steer calves steady to $3 lower, heifer calves steady to $3 higher, but a good active market there in Oklahoma City. Joplin Regional Stockyards, 11,000 head there, so really good sale. They've got another 7,000 or more going to be on their weaned back special value added sale on Thursday. And you can see bigger, more uniform groups, probably mostly black hided there like they are. A lot of them will be process verified there at the weaned back special, Joplin Regional Stockyards on Thursday. You can view and bid that on dvauction.com, guys, and that'll be a really good sale with some top quality four-state area cattle. But at the regular sale on Monday on 11,000 head, feeder steers steady to $3 lower, calves steady to $2 higher, and that's just kind of what we saw in the Midwest. Is your bigger feeder cattle, they had nowhere to go but down with the way the board was and everything. But guys are still pretty aggressive for stocker type calves, even in the winter time, as they'll get those cattle and dry winter them and get them raring to go for early spring turnout. Talk about some top individual quotes around the circuit, and I like to give you guys a wide spectrum there. How about Central Oregon Livestock Auction and Madras, Oregon there? Trent Stewart sale, they do a good job. Recent DV auction, you know, broadcaster there, but they are having a really good sales out there, and they've had some moisture out on the west coast, so now we're starting to see these calves pep up a little bit way out west. But at Madras, Oregon there on Monday, 53 head, 501 pound steers bring $177, and that's a pretty darn good ticket, guys. How about Faith Livestock Auction, Faith, South Dakota? You know, those middleweight calves have been a little bit soft around, not in the northern plains. And Faith Livestock Auction there on Monday, 58 head, 625 pound steer calves bring $160 and a quarter at the Faith Livestock Auction there. But your Zach Tran top quote of the day, I saw them go through at Callaway Livestock Center, Kingdom City, Missouri. 120 head of the Milligan cattle there out of California, Missouri. They weighed 850 pounds at $136.10, bought by a legendary buyer. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.